Talking in my sleep at night, making myself crazy. Wrote it down and read it out, hoping it would save me. Too many times. Love, he makes it feel like nobody else. But my love, he doesn't love me, so I tell myself, one, don't pick up the phone. You know he's only calling cause he's drunk and alone. Two, don't let him in. You have to kick him out again. Three, don't be his friend. You know you're gonna wake up in his bed in the morning. And you're under him. You ain't getting nobody.
Nice ball from Neymar, taken on here by Coutinho. What a goal!
I keep pushing forwards, but he keeps pulling me backwards. No, now I'm standing back from it. I finally see the pattern. He doesn't love me, so I tell myself, I do. One, don't pick up the phone. You know he's only calling cause he's drunk and alone. Two, don't let him in. You have to kick him out again. Three, don't be a friend. You know you're gonna wake up in his bed in the morning. And if you're under him, you ain't getting nobody.
Germany, deserving champions of the world.
Hello. Welcome to the International Break Podcast. I'm your host, Stefano. Joining me in studios today is the one and only Biagio Avrasano. Biagio, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Glad to be back.
Also joining us in studios today is Stephen Moore. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Stephen, Biagio, we had a roller coaster ride of a day today. If you caught those 2 o'clock games.
Yeah, I did.
Absolutely, yes.
No chance I was missing it.
What a day it was for some calcio. Before we get to those 2 matches at 2,
Yeah.
it was obviously Group A, in which occurred where we saw who finished top in the group, finished second, third, fourth. Steven, if you want to elaborate more on that.
For sure here. So Russia took on Uruguay today first in a 3-0 victory. So essentially it was a fight for top place. You have Uruguay and Russia that they had already progressed. They already knew who was going through. It was just a matter of what place they wanted to finish in there. And this match decided that completely with Uruguay taking a hold of all 3 points. So 10 minutes in, right off the bat, we have Luis Suarez off a free kick, smash it home on the right side there. It looked like the goalkeeper, Akinfi, was kind of cheating to the right. Question here that we've all seen from Suarez, though, after that first game, which was a lackluster performance, is Suarez overrated?
Now, do you mean just all in all? Like, are you talking specifically for Uruguay?
Well, all in all, obviously, he's playing for Barcelona, where he had the help of Messi and Neymar, and now obviously Neymar is left now, but he's still playing with some of the top professionals, and which is why he has scored so many goals for the club. So obviously, we saw the same thing with Liverpool, where he did have his breakout season, where he kind of rose to seniority with the club in the English Premier League there. But with Uruguay, it kind of seems like they had troubles kind of putting him and Cavani together to put something together in the performances, especially after the last World Cup and this year right off the start. But he gets his goal last game when they actually played Egypt, when they won 1-0 there, and then they actually got another goal today. So I've seen a bunch of a bunch of talk and news surrounding him. And is he overrated was a large question that just surrounded the player.
If we're talking about like Barcelona, if you look at the majority, they could have had a golden season. Obviously, they fell short after the last game where they lost to Levante. But when you've been seeing they've been constantly winning, pulling draws. They've been pulling away with undefeated and then undefeated season almost. And then you look at you look at the goals they scored. They're not. Some of the goals are very nice. Some are not that nice. They're simple goals, but they play great as a team.
For
And I've
sure.
seen Suarez's goals. I mean, they're not. Some of them are not nice, but look, he's doing his job. Striker's job
Yeah,
is to score.
absolutely.
So, saying that he's overrated, to a certain extent, I can agree with it because he's not. There's some good strikers out there that have had a way better season. And like,
Hmm.
if you compare, like Salah's season, like Salah his breakthrough season in Liverpool, and then you take Suarez now, it's obviously Salah's better. But then after you can argue with Suarez's season at Liverpool when he was the breakout star before he signed for Barcelona. So it all depends how
Exactly.
you think of it.
Yeah, I agree with Biag. Like, at Real Madrid, I know they were saying this about Messi. They have all these players surrounding them. That's why they look so good. I think it's the same idea with Suarez. I think surrounding him at Barcelona, he's got all these great players. And then you go with Uruguay, and the skill level isn't A. It's B plus, B minus,
Yeah,
and he's not playing with the most creative midfielders like he is at Barca. So, for me, is he overrated? No, the talent's all there. He killed Italy 4 years ago. So the bite and this and that. So do I dislike him? Totally.
yeah.
Is he a
time.
great?
Players.
Yeah. Is he a great player? 100%. He's,
Yeah,
one of the
Yes.
definitely.
top class strikers in the world right now. And, they now, like, we saw today, Uruguay will finish obviously top of the group, Russia second. Uruguay will now play Portugal. So the battle of Suarez and Ronaldo,
Yeah.
something we saw during the season a lot. So, there's a lot more to come in the next coming weeks for sure.
But don't you
Hmm.
feel that I feel like Uruguay had the first two games were easy teams and they struggled, and then the game that
That
wasn't
mattered
going to
the
be a tough fight,
most.
yeah, and they went through it like the way they played against Russia is how I thought they would play against Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and I thought Russia got a rude awakening to what for what's to
Absolutely.
come,
Yeah.
like the
I,
caliber you have
I
to bring.
I think what it is when you're playing lower level teams is I think you as a team, and I know playing soccer all these years, you play down to your opponent. I
Hmm.
mean, all these countries at the World Cup. We saw a tie from Morocco today, a tie from Portugal. These teams, they 25 to 30% possession. They get their one chance and they score, and that's what I think Uruguay. They played down to their opponent. They got their goal that they needed, and they sat back, and they finished with 9 points on top of the group, and that was enough to make it obviously top the group, and that's all they needed, right? They wanted that one goal in each game, and they came out flying today against Russia, and that's what you got to do, and to prove everybody that you could compete, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. And that was Suarez's 53rd international goal for Uruguay. So it does kind of show how many goals he's actually been able to put in for
Mm-hmm.
Uruguay as a country. But shortly after that chance, we had Cheryshev for Russia come streaking down the middle. It could have absolutely changed the match, the outcome of what was going to happen. But he strikes it. Muslera saves it, the ex-Lazio goaltender, in his 100th
yeah,
cap for Uruguay. So right after that, detrimental. Great save from Muslera. Could have changed the match. And then, as we see right after, in the 23rd minute, Laxalt shoots from outside the box off a corner, deflects off Cheryshev, the guy who could have scored to put Russia ahead, and it goes into the net. It counts as an own
oh,
goal.
you mean
So
to tie? Wait, he missed a chance before they scored or after?
he missed a chance right after Suarez had scored that 10th
Oh,
minute
so
free
he got
kick.
the chance
So
to
he
tie
could
it.
have,
Yeah.
exactly. And then he had that deflection that went off of him in the 23rd minute, led to it being 2-0 for Russia. And then
Yeah.
obviously we see them dominating the game at that point, but it just got worse for Russia as in the 35th minute, Smolnikov takes down his opponent Laxalt,
Yeah.
who just scored, and they go down to 10 men. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, it doesn't really help the team. If we look at the game overall, we take into consider red card. He's not going to be there against when they face Spain, which is not very good because he is, a key part in their midfield. But when you look at this game as a whole, I think this is a good loss for Russia because look, they played Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and then they're like, okay, we played good. They obviously can't lower their standards because of the team is not that strong. But then they played Uruguay. They got a rude awakening. They're still through, so they're fine. But I feel like this is an awakening. They're like, okay, whoa, we got a bad loss. But now we know what to raise the level to when we want to face Spain, because Spain is obviously a stronger team. So I feel this is a good thing. So this is kind of like a warm up. This is their chance to realize that now they have to bring it up a notch in the round of 16.
Exactly. And Stefano, we know you're a defender, just playing soccer yourself. So if you're on a yellow card that early into a match and Laxalt's drifting off into the left side of the field, kind of not causing any trouble, do you go into a challenge like that from behind and take out your opponent?
No, not a chance. I played in net for about 15 years now, and if you're on a yellow card, you got to play cautious. You keep your guy to the outside. You play simple. You don't go into any tackles, because the lightest thing, especially in professional football, players go flying. So for me, just keep your guy on the outside, keep him contained. Try not getting any service into the box, and he didn't. He went in recklessly. I guess out of frustration, like you said, it was deflection off of that went off of his foot and went in. Missed a chance before. TSN turning point right there. All it would have took of was another bounce his way, and not a bounce the other way, and the game's tied up, right? So for me, it was that chance that went from a save to a deflection off his foot. Bad luck again. Like Biagio said, they got to raise the bar now going into the next match against Spain. I know Spain, struggled against Morocco, so at this World Cup, anything could happen, and honestly, nothing surprises me going forward because of what I've seen so far. It's just it's been
I don't think it will be
shocking. Not a chance.
Shock if Russia, if they can pull through against Spain, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Not at all.
The home advantage, but
exactly.
We've seen many upsets in this World Cup so far.
Yeah. So for me, this World Cup, I know Spain dominated that first game. The second game, they got away with a tie today. But I think any team right now could happen. But, not to give away credit to, these good teams, right? At the end of the day, you look at Brazil, you look at Germany, they lost, to lower, the tie, Brazil tied, Germany lost. But at the end of the day, the better team, you could tell who the better country is, right? In that Spain game, they dominated 72% possession to 28. So, they get their one chance, and that's all there is, right? So, I mean, if you want to play like that and defend 90 minutes and hope for that one break, I mean, by all means do it, but you're not going to go to the World Cup final and win a World Cup like that. It's just not going to happen.
But they will cause some damage. They
100%. But now you go into the group stage, you go into the round of 32, where now there's not going to be any more of that.
It's round of 32.
Round of 16. Round of 16. Yeah. Round of 16. You're not going to get any more teams that are going to defend. 10 men behind the ball, like Iran, like Morocco. Right? You're going to get a higher pace game, and there's going to be a lot more goals than people think, because the defending in this tournament has been putrid. The penalties have been flying, the diving, the VAR just being like.
And it has nothing to do now with goal differential. With we need
now it's win or go home. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
And I like that part of a tournament, when it's stuff like that, when it's win or lose, and it's quick. Not like it's quick.
Yeah, because teams. Yeah, exactly. Because teams like we saw with Morocco and Iran, they just defend. They defended until they got their chance, and they try to capitalize. Right? Yeah, they'll take you out of the group stage maybe, but past the group stage, you're not gonna go farther than that. Right?
If you can pull through 120 minutes to get the penalty.
Yes. Then I could, hats to you, right? That you could do that, but don't think you're going to do that all the way to the World Cup final. It's not going to happen, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Just getting back on track here. Sorry, just to clarify one thing. It was actually right back Smolnikov who actually got that second yellow card and got red and sent off. It wasn't Cheryshev. He's actually, it was his first World Cup debut for Russia, actually. So you can see that Russia was kind of playing a lot of their substitutes. You saw Golovin that wasn't played today. So he was one of the substitutes that was put into the team for this last match. So Russia, I think personally, they kind of took a lower approach side to this match. They really didn't care if it was going to be a win or a loss, as long as they had made it through, which they already had. Personally, the teams that they had to play are Spain or Portugal, both European heavy top teams. It was, you couldn't call out of the other groups. We'll get to that in a little bit, but Portugal and Spain, their group, you didn't know who was finishing first, second, third, fourth. It was all drama packed today, and we'll definitely get to that. But so Uruguay obviously got 3 victories in that group. They finished the top with 9 points. They had 5 goals for and 0 against. Something to kind of talk about here is Uruguay's defense. 0 goals against in the 3 games played. Does that say something about that partnership with Godin and Jimenez for Atletico Madrid?
I'll jump in here. I think there is, but at the same time, they played Egypt without Salah and they played Saudi Arabia. So, for me, the talent for those two those two countries weren't there. So, to get 0 goals against through 3 games, Russia, like you said, a lackluster performance with a depleted roster. I saw a stat where I think they went out of the group stage in 2014 or 2010 without allowing any goals either. So, I mean, yeah, by all means, it's good, but again, the teams weren't there. And also I was looking at, the back four. You got Kekaras playing right back, which I don't like. He was playing with 3 in the back at Lazio this year. He looked decent enough to play at the top level in the world. I don't know. And then on the left back, they had how do you say that one? Laxalt, right?
Laxalt, yeah.
He played wing this year for Genoa, did he not?
He played in the 3-5-2, kind of in the left wing back formation. So he has experience in that position for sure.
Yeah, that he's experienced, but I think he was more used to playing on the wing, right? I know Lazio had
more
some
attack minded.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
I know Lazio had some interest in him over this, recently. So him left back, over the next game against Portugal, we'll see, the true colors of these players, as the talent increases throughout these games, if they could, advance, right?
Mm-hmm. And then moving on to second place there. So you have Russia, who obviously they're battling for that first and second place there. But Russia finishes second with 6 points. They have 2 wins and 1 loss, 8 goals for and 4 goals against. So one thing to just note out of that, we have Cheryshev, who actually has 3 goals, and Zuba, who actually has 2 goals and 1 assist. So they do have the people who are producing, but obviously with that first victory of 5-0 over Saudi Arabia, it was kind of a blowout, and that's why they do have that goal differential of +4. But the other game into today was the Saudi Arabia versus Egypt match, in which Saudi Arabia won in the last minutes. They took it 2-1. What were your guys' thoughts on that game?
Actually, I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it because this game didn't really decide anything. It didn't change anything in the group. I mean, 3rd and 4th place. But yeah, if honest opinion, Salah could have got 2 goals. I know he screwed up on one of them.
He missed the breakaway. That's a big point.
You look at it if you're looking at it as in a team that's going through to the knockout stage or has a good chance of going to the knockout stage, they'll brush this game aside. They'll be like, yeah, both their teams are out. But looking at through their point of view, they're playing for pride at this point. And I believe they picked up their first win since 1984. So when they scored that last minute goal, they knew they were going home, but you had to see the coach, the staff.
Yeah, it meant a lot for them, the passion.
That's the passion you need in the sport.
Exactly. So yeah, just the main topic point there. Mo Salah scores again. Obviously, he had 44 goals for Liverpool this past season, and he's finally able to put one in for Egypt in the last game. But he missed that huge opportunity, which could have secured the victory. But like you said, 3rd and 4th place, it was a battle for pride. It didn't matter if you had won 7-0, 8-0. You were finishing that point.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you finished 3rd, right?
Now here.
For me, I think it had to go back to the Champions League final when Salah was taken down by Ramos and he hurt his shoulder. I think Egypt, although the talent wasn't there, I think they could have had a way better outing if they had a full 100% Mohamed Salah, who had the year he had. But when you pick up a knock,
first game for sure, right?
Yeah, right. So when you pick up a knock like that, it's depleting in the sense where you can't get that confidence back, and that's what I think. That's why they went 0-3. Simple as that. I think if Salah doesn't get taken down like that in the Champions League final, they might have won. Who knows? It was a back and forth game, so it could have totally changed the way Egypt came out in this group. They lost that first game with that last minute goal, so you could tell they were a little bit depleted. But that's the way soccer goes.
Last second, it was the last play of the game.
Yeah, so that's depleting too, right? You tie that game, and you have a little bit of hope. The boys are behind you. Salah starts the second game, and it could have been a whole different group. But again, Uruguay topped the group with 9 points. Russia sit at second. We go into the next group.
Wow.
Spain, Portugal. Yeah, Biagio. Wow, that's all I got to say for you.
Oh, Iran and Morocco.
Yeah. I don't even know what to start here with. How about the Spain game? Should we start at the Spain game?
Yeah.
Let's start with the Spain game for sure.
Ramos, that first goal. I looked at the replay and I'm like, it looked like he made the pass to Iniesta, and Iniesta made the pass back to him, and then he was like, he thought he was gonna get it. He's like, oh, what are you doing? And then the guy just blew right through him.
Miscommunication, absolutely. That was.
And that's what happened when you give. They're not a strong side, Morocco. They're still,
They were very defensively compact, and you look at them, right? They only had 4 goals against. They lost 1-0 both games, and they tied 2-2 today. So,
but you give them that little chance, they'll go pounce right on it, and they took their chance. They got the lead.
Yeah. 14 minutes in, off of that, it was I don't know what they were thinking, but miscommunication was a huge part, and it kind of stunned the team. But the way they bounced back was key there. And in the 19th minute, 5 minutes later, it was a brilliant team goal, all from the main man, Isco. He's been absolutely brilliant. Isco, Iniesta, they are the people that are carrying Spain right now. Right off the bat, not right after being scored on, they come back. Isco starts the play to the striker Diego Costa. Costa lays it off to Iniesta. Iniesta takes it around the man and sends it back into the box for Isco, who finishes. How did you see that goal? Did you see it coming? Did you expect them to respond that fast?
Spain moved the ball so well. You see it often, even in club football. You see you're watching a game, could be League, Champions League, Europa League. You'd be like, what the hell? How is this team losing right now? You gotta give it time. I mean, the first 10 minutes, a weak team could be, they could be beating a strong team for 10 minutes, and then, reality sinks in. They'll hold on to the lead. They can't hold it on for a full 90 minutes. That's what a strong team does. But, they tried to cause some damage. They obviously picked it back up, and then the 80th minute, just a while after in the second half, that was an incredible header to jump.
Well, second half, yeah.
Powerful header there.
Yeah. Before we get to that, just in the 25th minute, Boutiev, the goal scorer who had converted on that miscommunication play, he was actually sent through the middle on a breakaway again. And this time, De Gea came up clutch. The Manchester United man absolutely saved this Spanish side, because they could have gone down 2-0.
You could also
that was a key point in the game.
Too. Could have been better finishing too, But
yeah, Stefano, just talking about the second half there. Crazy events.
Yeah, well, Morocco, they take the lead off that beautiful header, which he got over Ramos, which is the world's best, defender in the world. And, I'm just jaw-dropped that a team like Morocco, who, they played decent against Portugal, Iran, that late goal was an own goal. I was just stunned, okay? And then you go to the Portugal game, flipping back and forth. Portugal's up, but they're hanging on. So, I mean, in the Spain game, I didn't expect this result at all. It was a beautiful header that obviously took them in the lead 2-1. Spain deserved the win. They dominated possession. But again, I think that because it's the group stage, you'll see teams concede more because, Spain knew they were going through more or less with a tie. So for them, it was a little bit lackluster, like you said, on the goal. I mean, I doubt you'll see any of the mistakes you saw in the first 3 games happen in the next round against Russia. I think Spain will take care of business. They look like one of the better countries out of all the countries I've watched so far. So, I mean, that beautiful goal in the last minute or two, the back heel again that went to the VAR, which is
Amigo Aspas, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't even have to check VAR.
Yeah,
clear onside. Nice finish.
Yeah, it was a beautiful finish, and they got the tie, which luckily finished for them. They finished on the top of the group with Iran tying against Portugal. So it was just one of those games where you just tip your cap to Morocco, and Spain again. I see them being a heavily favorites going into the round of 16.
Like you said, the possession was top heavy, 75% to 25%. But it is what you do when you have the ball going forward, and they did dominate most of the game. They had 18 shots throughout that match. So obviously you saw that they were trying to press. They wanted that victory, but that header in the 81st minute from En-Nesyri, it was brilliant from him to be able to get up there and do that. But I don't know if you guys saw just before in the 55th minutes at the start of the second half there, Amrabat of Watford came walking on in and had probably one of the cleanest strikes and outstanding shots of the tournament and just smashed off the bar.
Post, yeah. Again, another TSN turning point. If that goes in, or the goal where De Gea made that good save, this is a 2-0 game. And, I don't see a team like Spain hanging their head like some teams would. You don't want to be up you obviously want to be up 2-0 against Spain, but the fight in a good team is scary. And when you're down, I think you play with a different drive, and that's what made them tie the game. I think being down 1-0, or 2-1, sorry, in that last final 15-20 minutes, and not knowing the result of the Iran game, because I don't know how it would have worked if Iran would have won. It would have been a total mayhem, but which I think would have eliminated Portugal, and then it would have been a disaster. So, it happened the way it did, and Spain got to
see that.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that, actually. But
sorry, Stefano. There, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just speechless. Like, today was just one of those. The last 10 minutes, I got home early for it. Thank God, an early day at work, and out of all days so far to the World Cup to have an early day, today was a great day for it.
This is a perfect day.
Yeah.
I have some dry days, cough, cough, Group G, but and now this is what the World Cup's all about.
Yeah, exactly. We go to the Portugal-Iran game. Spain got the tie. They finished top of the group. Portugal-Iran, Biaj, Steven, what a game that was. Back and forth, VAR, yellow card VAR, penalty VAR, one side on the other side. A lot. Yeah.
It's been happening a lot this World Cup, but what can you do? You put VAR in there. You're hoping that it's going to help out, and it does. At the end of the day, they've been making a lot of right decisions and going to VAR to double check everything. It does help out in terms of the drama that has happened throughout the World Cups. You look back at Suarez against Italy. That's the one that just haunts me to this day. If they could go back to VAR and see Suarez biting Chiellini there, like exactly. The game's changed, and it's for the better. I know a lot of people today, like we saw after the game, Amrabat was actually caught on camera, looking straight at the camera, doing the VAR symbol, saying VAR is bullshit. So as you can see, when you're on the wrong end of the spectrum for that, it really does suck and it hurts, but it is for the better of football, in my opinion, when you're looking forward.
Steven, I got to interrupt you there. Although it's helped on certain plays, I think that the VAR has really softened, the way players have played. I know that if you see the Griezmann penalty in Game 1 against Australia, there's some.
Oh, he just cut off on.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So, you look at some plays where it looks totally soft, and I think that the VAR, there's got to be more consistency with that. Because they step on your pinky toe in the box,
it doesn't for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a line where it's like, this is a foul, and this is a dive, right? And you look at the Portugal game today. One, it's Ronaldo. Two, it's a soft challenge, right? Where he got a little contact and he flew.
There was no motion that he wanted to get the ball. I don't think that was a penalty at all.
I didn't think so either. And then they went the other way, and because Iran, there was Carvalho all over the back of, I couldn't tell you who it was.
It was
Azmoun. He totally impeached his total movement, and no VAR, nothing. Yeah. If they would have went to VAR and they would have said, no, it was not a foul, and you distinguish what's a penalty, what's not a penalty, then sure. But because he's Ronaldo, I saw his face as soon as he got up. He knew that he was going to get the call. And that's where you got to have a line, right?
Though, he did try to block him off, and you saw Ronaldo when he was sprinting down the line. He kind of tried to look back the Iranian defender, try to block him off, but it's just unnecessary. Like you weren't going anywhere. Yes, he's blocking your view. The ball's already down the half. You can sprint after it. You're not going to get it because the defender was already there. So, once again, he didn't really make that contact. And the Iranian defender really embellished that. But like just for that per se for VAR, if there's no VAR included, does the ref say, "Oh, it's Ronaldo," not do anything? Does he take it the other way because Iran?
Well, he did, right? He didn't call anything until, of course, Ronaldo
afterwards.
gets up and he smirks and has that smile on his face with the goatee, right? So I think
they
that's
did use VAR on that call though.
They did, but he never called a penalty originally, right?
Yeah.
The play went on.
And the thing that bothers me is the delay. That they have to wait, and then
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Normally, and then they're like, "Okay, wait, hold on, we'll go check VAR." Like that bothers me. You want to check VAR, do it like initially. That's just me.
Do it initially, yeah.
Well, the problem is with that, Biage, is they go back and forth on the mic between the linesmen and
while the play's going on.
Right? So, I think for me, the VAR is totally bullshit. As Armbad said, it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. The ref's there to make a call, whether he's from where he sees it. It's been like that for 100 years, and now all of a sudden, because we have the technology and we're in that day era where we could do it and go like, what are we going to start throwing challenge flags like the NFL? There's got to be a line, right? And I think they crossed the line by adding it to the tournament. Serie A, they screwed Lazio for I don't know how many points this year. So I mean,
I'll get us started about that.
Yeah. So, I think it's got to be all on the ref. Whether, and again, it's they're biased, and we saw the ref wanting Ronaldo's shirt and this and that. There's always, it's soccer, right? I've been we 02 World Cup Italy. I was a young lad and looking at highlights, it gives me aneurysms in the neck. But there's always going to be that sense of corruption, and it's always going to be like that. And I think the VAR makes it even worse now because we could go back to see that, but we can't. You know what I mean? I just think it should be on the ref. And totally on the ref, and that's the way I look at it.
There has to be consistency for sure, and then that's what they're saying too, right? If you have the VAR and we're putting it into play, what's the point of having linesmen if we're going to be counting that all the time? It's going to get to the point there. If we continue to use this, we don't need it. What are we going to do if you have everything online? So
yeah, send the refs home. Like we'll just start playing with a computerized ref too, right? So
yeah. It's beneficial in some aspects, but definitely it needs to be improved and touched upon and made more consistent at the end of the day.
Because they shouldn't rely on it too much. And the question I wanted to ask you guys was, I don't know if it's just me, but do you find that though now, not just the weaker teams, but all teams in general, do you find that they rely on VAR too much for the ref to make the decision? Like Iran, they were playing good defensively, but then you could tell that they were just, I was like, they were taking bad shots.
They're looking for something, and that's what teams do now, yeah.
And they saw that slight chance at the handball. This is their chance. This is our chance to tie it. I feel like when you're not that strong of a team, or even the strong teams, they want the lead. I feel like they rely nowadays, the sport is, declining a bit just because teams rely too much on VAR to get a penalty or for something to go their way when the ref didn't call it initially, which you couldn't do that back then because VAR is, new to the sport. So I find that, because the question I want to ask was that, and also the ref, does he make the initial thing, or the guys talking in his earpiece, do they tell him what to do? But how does it work?
I think it's the earpiece. I think the guy in the video review goes down to the ref and says, we got to look back at this. So that's when they go to the VAR, and then they go to that TV, and that's when the final decision is. And for me, yeah, I think you're right. I think the weaker teams are going to look more for this. But even the stronger teams, they're going to get their calls. I mean, not just them. Like Ronaldo, Messi, if they get a little touch in the box and, the ref might not see anything, and then they go back and like Griezmann, the guy barely touched his foot, and I think he sold it completely. That's why they went to VAR. And
also top teams, right? That's what they try to do. When they can't beat a top or lower tier side, they look for that aspect.
Yeah,
kind of vice versa.
That's what I find ruins the sport.
Yeah, that's what I agree.
Really ask for it, like what you were saying before about it's not gonna be like football now. You throw a challenge flag. Like, how do you, when you want to ask for it, you can't always ask for it. Be like, okay, VAR. Like, I don't know. How does the ref make the decision?
Well, again, it's all computerized, right? So it all depends on the situation and the play. And again, I think they should never have been added. Should have been totally on the ref. There's been 20 World Cups or whatever it's been. How many times has the ref been the difference maker in a game? Because, Maradona with the God of hand, there was some plays, right? But a handful of them over a long period of time, right? So, I don't know. That's how I look at it. It should be all up on the ref, and never they should have put this into play, for good or for bad. It's the error. It's the error. It's the human error, right? You're always going to get that. And when you have to go back to it, I don't know. That's the way I look at it. It's frustrating.
So now the handball, Do you guys think it was a handball? The right decision to use the VAR on that penalty against Cedric.
Like he was leading back and his arm wasn't in irregular
Yeah, and
position.
his arm was out and he was going for the header.
Yeah,
I
like
thought
at the
it
end
wasn't
of
a penalty, but then when you look at it, if you don't look at it like front view, where you see Cedric's like chest, if you look like more of a top view where you see his head, you can clearly see it touch his arm. I think that's a penalty.
Yeah, and that's the thing of VAR, right? Like you can go into that and double check and you see that, and what are you gonna say? It's not a penalty after you review it, you have to give it. So that's what it works. But what I find kind of funny out of this whole thing is the fact that when they go to use VAR and the ref's looking at it at 20 different angles, and you have the people in the video room upstairs looking at everything, and he gives a penalty or he doesn't give a call because he's been looking at it for so long, why all the players get so upset and they come after you. It's like, obviously they put this in it for the World Cup. They've gone to the decision like the teams have asked to go view it. If he's gone and viewed it and saw it's his final decision, it's not going to be changed. It's like regularly when you just have a ref and no VAR and he just gives the one call. He's not going to take away a penalty just because you're complaining. So it does give kind of a two-sided opinion, like me and Stefano have kind of took on it here. But what can you do?
Yeah.
Now, a question for you boys, okay? We see all these teams in the World Cup, the lower level teams competing, okay? Now, as the top teams in the world gotten worse, or has the lower countries gotten better?
Biagio, I'll let you take this one if you'd like.
Wow, that's a very good question. I don't know. I still think VAR it brings down the level of the sport, because you can rely too much on, like back then, if something doesn't go your way, you suck it up, you fight through it, and you get the job done. Nowadays, it's I still feel like teams are just you're relying on VAR too much. That, or soccer is known to be an unpredictable sport. Stuff goes other ways, but I don't know if it's just a coincidence. I still believe that Italy, just because Italy's not in this World Cup, it's causing teams to underperform, because you need an Italian team to balance everything out.
Yes. Funny thing to point out is that all three of us are Italian, so there might be some Italian jokes containing in this in your bias. But getting back to that question there, it's the lower tier teams, in my opinion, absolutely. You look at this Group E side, you have Iran and Morocco, and you have Spain and Portugal. Everyone, I'd say 90% of the population, is saying Spain and Portugal are going through in this group.
And that's what happened.
And that's what happens at the end of the day. But when you look at how close the games were, 3 out of the 6 games were draws in this competition. The rest of in this group, sorry, not the competition. And you look at the biggest blowout, it was 1-0 or the 3-3 draw with Spain. Exactly. There was no blowout games in this group. The lower tier sides have improved. They have scouted the coaches. This is what they've been called to do. They scout the teams that they're playing against. They know their weaknesses. They know their strengths. They know how to tackle each game. And this is why you're seeing so many upsets, and not even upsets, just of the lower tier sides playing so much better than they have in the past. And this is why everyone's saying, Germany, Spain, all these top tier teams, France, they're going to win the cup. They're going to win the cup. Maybe at the end of the day they will, but it's the way they get there. And you look at Brazil too in Group E. They're having difficulties breaking down these smaller sides, and I believe it's because they're more defensively sound, 1, and 2, because they've been doing a lot more scouting and taking it to the training by the coaches and putting that right formation in play, or even just the strategies and tactical changes throughout the game to kind of balance it out.
Now, to jump in, Steven, I have to agree with you on that part. I think they do a lot more scouting than they used to. They look at games where did Ronaldo not score a goal, and they say, okay, well, how did they isolate him? The defensive mid always drop, the center back always step. That's one, but I think the bigger teams are playing too down to their opponent.
That happens too. Yep.
You look at Iran; they don't have one player on a top 5 league in the world. Look at Morocco; they have Benatia, who played I wouldn't say league, because I didn't go through every player on the roster, and I'm sure there's a few of them that have a couple Morocco, they had Benatia, right?
Morocco, they have Hakimi, they have Ziyech, they have Belhanda. They have a few people. What surprised me today, actually, I'm looking at this now, is Benatia didn't even play today in center back, which is kind of weird. But no, he did not.
No, I realized that. I didn't see him like halfway through the second half, to be honest. I Second, yeah, no, he didn't start. So
No, he didn't. He didn't touch the field today.
I didn't look at every player and where they all play. I know
Mhm.
I'm looking at one right now from Morocco. The right back plays at Fenerbahce. So like, I mean,
They're
they're
a big team.
unknown, they're unproven players, right? So that's
Yeah.
what I think that a lot of the bigger teams, I think they're, like you said, they're playing very well defensively, and they're looking at a lot of film to how do we stop this guy? What do system wise, and that I think that's my take on it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, you do. Like it's they drop to their level for sure. That's another
And that
reason.
too, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah, those are the two main things. But yeah, it was a busy day. But just to get back on track there with the Group E stats. So we had Spain with 5 points topping the group, 1 win and 2 draws with 6 goals for and 5 goals against, which was the leading
maker.
factor to why
Yeah.
difference maker. Yes, for why Portugal finished second with 5 points as well. They had the same record of 1 win and 2 draws, but only 5 goals for and 4 goals against. So they finished second. You had Iran with 4 points. They actually had one of everything: 1 win, 1 draw, 1 tie, or 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. 2 goals for, 2 goals against. And Morocco had 1 point, 2 losses, 1 draw, 2 goals for, and 4 goals against. When we look at Group B and we see Spain, we've known them to be one of these powerhouse sides, but looking down into their squad here, you've seen Casillas has moved on. We look at their center backs, Ramos and Piqué. They will be moving on after this World Cup. Who is going to come back into the center backs? Who's going to lead this team? And yes, there's another main one in the center of the midfield. He's going to be moving on after this World Cup. Alba's getting up there in age, Busquets as well. I personally think that this Spain team is going to have to rely on Isco and Thiago Alcantara on Bayern Munich there to carry this team forward. What do you guys take on that whole aspect on the Spanish side moving forward?
I think Spain is going to go through a transition like Italy did, where guys like Cannavaro, guys like Nesta in 06, okay, Cannavaro was there in 010, but every team, like I mentioned in the last podcast, they go through that 4-year window transition where I think, certain teams at certain points, have great players and then they're going to have a decline. And I think Spain is going to be in for one of those. Yeah, they have guys like Isco, Asensio coming up, Silva, who I'm sure will still be there. Costa, De Gea, they'll still have the majority players, but again, in certain positions, they'll be a lot weaker than they were. You're not going to get a guy better than Ramos. You're not going to get a guy better than Piqué. Obviously, Puyol's up there, and probably a few other ones that I can't think of on the top of my head. Italy just did the same thing, right? They went from Cannavaro to Chiellini, so there was a bit of a gap there, and I think they'll do the same thing. They'll still be at one of the top in the world, but I think if they're going to win it, it's going to be this year because I don't see them for maybe another 1 or 2 World Cups. Their U21 squad's always strong. But again, don't count out Spain. 1 win, 2 ties does not. Again, the first game was unlucky. I see another unlucky game today, and then the 1-0 win over Iran. The best is yet to come for this country, and a team to watch out for, 100%.
Mm-hmm. They're both of them. Isco and Thiago are just brilliant footballers. Their control and dribbling, it's just superb. Superb.
And I don't want to make it too much about Italy, but if you see if Spain they're gonna start to decline, because Italy, they're at that point now. They got to rebuild, and like I said in the first podcast, if you when you add new faces to the national team, you gotta you have to adapt to the system, because it's not like club level. Club level, you're practicing 4 or 5 times a week, and then you got the game on the weekend. When it's international level, the only time you're training, if it's not for a competition, it's during the friendlies. But now I know they added the Nations League upcoming this September.
Mm-hmm. That'll be pretty huge.
Add some competitiveness and get rid of the friendlies.
That's exactly what they're going to do it for, and I think that it's going to add a lot more competition. And I'm excited to see the different talent after this World Cup, because I think you look at a lot of teams, they have a lot of older players. You go through Spain, they got Ramos, who won't be there next World Cup. Croatia too, a couple of their players are up there in the 30s. Argentina too, we're going to see Messi again. Guys like Mascherano are not going to be there. Willie, hopefully, will be on a plane to China at some point. So, I think that I'm excited to see what with the Nations Cup has to come in September. I
That's
think
the
it starts.
offer.
Yeah,
This is international, right? Or is it just European teams? Because I know Italy's group is Portugal and Poland, but is it just European teams or it's national, like all nations, international?
I'm not too sure on this one. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, that's a
definitely-
good question. I did do my research on it for European nations, and I know it's got a lot to do with. I don't know the format exactly, but I know
It's
that
Europe. It is all of Europe.
Yeah,
UEFA
okay.
Nations
Yeah,
League.
yeah,
Yeah.
UEFA, yeah.
UEFA.
It's got to do with the Euro Cup, and I think 2 or 3 teams are going to qualify from this Euro Nations
It
League.
has to do with the divisions, because there's here. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it right now. It's A1, so you got like all the top teams in the A. So you have like Italy and stuff, and like Portugal, France, and all that. Germany. Then when you go down to the Bs, you got some of the lower quality teams. If you scroll all the way down to Ds, you got basically your bottom teams like Macedonia, Gibraltar, Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
And I think you could go up or down, because I know the lower ones they have 4, and then the top tier ones have 3.
3.
So I don't know how it's gonna work.
I don't know the format
Yeah,
either.
so
but it's
the format,
something.
just looking here, you have 55 UEFA national teams, including Kosovo, which is a whole different topic. Getting back to the Shaqiri and Xhaka, but so it's gonna be divided into 4 divisions called leagues. 12 teams will be in League A, 12 in B, 15 in C, and 16 in D. Obviously, just the lower will have more, just because there's the lower tier teams like that. In each division, 4 groups are formed, 3 or 4 teams in each group, and play each other both home or away. So the winner of the 4 groups in League A go on to play in the Nations League finals, with 2 semifinals and 1 final to decide which team becomes UEFA Nations League champions. They can be promoted or relegated to a higher or lower division. Each group winner, because there are 4 groups in each division, is automatically promoted to the higher division next tournament. Each team placing last in his group is automatically relegated to the next lower division.
Yeah, so Steven, I think you're going to have to send me that link so I could look at it in depth.
Rather than, trading the once a week to play 2 friendlies that no one's not most of your
Yeah,
nations
it'll add a
care
better
about.
sense of competition.
I mean, it's
That's-
not it's at the start of the season. It's I know they're doing it to get rid of friendlies, and I think it's a brilliant idea. There's 2 games that each team plays. The round 1 and round 2 are through a whole weekend of September. Then there's a month break, go back to club level. 3, 4 in October, then another month, and then 5 and 6 go to November. And I think this is good. So, because a lot of teams go into an international break and friendlies, and some people are sad about international break because when it's friendlies, it's not really the best time. People don't like it. Kind of, there's no competition. That's the whole point of a friendly. But with this will definitely add some competition, make it more interesting.
Mhm.
A lot more competition, but when you think about the club teams, how do you think they feel about this? Because they hate it when their top players go away to international level and they get
obviously.
injured, and they have the risk of getting injured. But now you have more of those games, and they're playing harder because they want to secure that top spot, or they want to defeat these teams all the time. So now it does add competition and makes things more interesting. But on a club-based level, I think what they're trying to do is kind of balance the league and the international stuff now. Because when you have, let's just say, Juventus and per se, most of their team, if not, I don't even know what percent of them, all plays on international level. So if you have them all going off to do this competition all the time, they're going to come back and have to make more substitutions and rotate the squad a lot more. So it does take an impact on international and
You have to take into
club level.
consideration that they play their club level. They might be in Champions League Juventus, like Bonucci.
Well, they all have the 2 cups. They
Yeah.
have their leagues, and they have this. So
Yeah, so have Champions League, the club level, and international. That's what's gonna, but that also opens the doors to play more playing time for substitutions at their club level. If they're not choosing for their nation, they come back. They're like, okay, well, maybe we'll rest you this weekend. It's not that strong of a team. I know we need the 3 points, but look here, next week we're playing second place team. Like, this is important. So you know what? We're gonna rest you, and this gives more opportunities, opens the doors to more for youngsters to shine. And yes,
well, it even
you're
opens the
100
door up for these other to finish in higher spots too.
Yeah.
With
You're
teams at
100%.
Europa League
You're
level.
100% right about the injuries. I totally agree with you. At the same time, they don't pick up injuries. They get more playing time and they can develop. So it goes both ways. It's how you. It's how the manager sees it.
Exactly. Anyways, boys, before we close off our podcast, as we're going to be doing the rest of the week Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday. Steven, is there any games Thursday?
Thursday, yes. So it's just Monday to Thursday, the 4-day span here till the
And there's a
28th of
break on
June.
Yeah.
Friday.
So we're gonna get in a podcast every day this week. We'll try around 7:30 for all of them. For predictions for the round of 16, Biaj, we'll start with you. Spain versus Russia,
Oh,
Uruguay, Portugal.
it's true. I wasn't on the first episode, so I get to do I could do predictions here.
Now we know the round of 30, it's the round of 16. Sorry,
Round
so
of 16,
now we
yes.
could predict. Who's going what games. Go ahead, you can start.
I feel like Russia are gonna take it, but ultimately I say 2-1 for Spain. 2-1 Spain in extra time though.
Ooh, okay. And then the Uruguay game.
Hopefully 2-0 Uruguay.
Hopefully.
Steven, you.
I'll start with the Uruguay-Portugal game we just talked about, but I think we gotta be realistic. I think Portugal's coming on top. I think when Suarez and Cavani and the rest of Uruguay, they're
Yeah.
the experienced back central defenders with Muslera. Yes, they're their core players, and they have the two strikers up top, but I don't think they'll be able to provide the rest of the team at least a performance that will be able to beat this Portuguese side, especially with Ronaldo. I see him scoring another goal or two in this game,
I
especially
can
with
agree with
Quaresma coming up. So I think they're going to take this one probably 3-1 or 2-0. Looking at Spain and Russia, once again, Russia's the host nation. They have been coming on strong. Today, we did not see a lot of their starters like we did in the first two games, but this is kind of bad for us because they had to play Saudi Arabia and Egypt, which are two lower tier teams, and when they actually faced off against a stronger team, they lost 3-0. But they were playing a lot of their
But
substitutes.
they
So
also played their weaker. They also played their weaker players.
so
Look at the
so they
lineup,
played their
most of the
substitutes.
lineups
That's
there.
what I was saying. Yeah, so like Golovin per se, one of their breakout stars for this tournament, did not play today. And you look at the defense line, the midfielders, it was all mixed up today. So it's going to be an interesting match. But I do think just with experience, Spain is going to take it. I'm going to go with the top heavy favorites for these two matches.
What would you the score prediction for it?
Score prediction, it's going to be a close one, I think. Spain likes to dominate possession like they showed today, but finding the back of the net unless Diego Costa is on form, they find goals are hard to come by unless Isco and Iniesta provide something spectacular. So I'm going to go with probably a 2-1 victory for Spain.
Okay. Extra
Mhm.
time or just like regular?
Just regular time. Just not. I can't go.
Yeah, once in a minute.
Yeah, 89th minute off a corner, off a bicycle kick from Isco. Yeah.
No, that's
Stefano, what
funny.
about you?
For me, I'm gonna say for the first game, Uruguay, Portugal. I say Uruguay takes this, not for my hate for Portugal, just Portugal. They look like a strong side. They got outpossessed by Morocco. They struggled at times against Iran,
Yeah.
and ultimately they got a little fluky against Spain.
Yeah.
I see Uruguay taking this one 2-1. I see some possible extra time. Whether the second goal is going to come in the extra time or they win in penalties, I see that game going extra time. As for Spain and Russia, I don't see Russia putting up a fight at all. I think it's like a 3-0 game. As soon as Spain get one, I think they're just going to pour it on like Uruguay did today. And I say a 3-0 final.
I agree with you
Really
about
fun.
Portugal. I think when I just said, Uruguay 2-0, I think people would disagree. They'd be like, okay, yeah, you don't have any reasoning. But yeah, they struggled against, they played well against Spain, but still didn't deserve to win. Against Morocco, they got that goal, and then Iran. If you struggle against a team like that, I mean, not taking anything away from them. They played their hearts out. They gave so much effort. But come on, it's Iran. They gotta do a better job for a European team.
That won the Euro Cup.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
so that's another story, another time for another podcast. But
Yeah, exactly.
looking back at Portugal, Ronaldo does have 4 goals. He's tied in second for the Golden Boot right now. Lukaku of Belgium also has 4 with the game in hand, and then you have Harry Kane with 5 goals, leading the competition with England after that 5-2. Or sorry, not 5-2. The 6-1 demolishment of Panama, but. Yeah.
Anyways, boys, it was nice talking to you both.
You too.
We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, 7:30, as we break down Group C and D. Guys, at the INT Break on Twitter to give us a follow. You can find us, like us on Facebook, also on YouTube, the International Break. You can follow me on Twitter at AZZURO14_. Steven, you want to plug in anything?
It'll be at S_K_more MOORE.
And then Biaj to finish it off.
Just my name, Biagio Aversano, BIAGIO, and AVERSANO.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Ciao, boys.
See you tomorrow. Ciao.
Ciao.